Hey there, folks. This is part two of my live coding session where I am developing my GPT based VS Code extension. So, today I'd like to go through some of the issues that I have self raised on the repo. So, there are a few drawbacks that I discovered while using. Let me just check if I'm streaming right. Should be. So, there are a few drawbacks and issues that I discovered in the extension. So mainly I saw that sometimes the generate code command does not output just the code, but it also outputs descriptions courtesy of GPT. So I've been playing around with the prompt a bit, and I've been using it on ChatGPT to try to get it to just output the code block, which can directly be used inside of the editor. So as a first step, I'm going to try to update the prompts that we use. So I believe there is an issue that I already have raised. So there is a find GPT prompt issue. This would go against that. So based on certain experiments I've ran, I've done something called a one-shot prompt where we give an example of the output that GPT has to generate in advance, so that it knows exactly what format the output should be in. And also somewhere in the text description I mentioned, do not output any descriptions, notes, or usage examples. Ensure only that the code is present in your response. So hopefully this should work well, and we should be able to generate just the code. So I'm going to put that to the test now. This is the updated prompt. So before that, let me make sure that I have the latest version of main local. This is the updated prompt that I'll be using. You can see now generate code. Here is where we will insert our description. So actually, let's remove the white space over here. That should save us probably a few tokens. This becomes description. Maybe I can also add the language at if the language isn't specified, maybe, because here I say it's a Python function that returns sum of two numbers, but I don't know where I should be including the language, because the extension currently takes the language that is auto detected by VS Code, and that's the language that appears over here. So I pass in that language ID, and then I used to send it as part of the prompt, but maybe I'll just add it. Let's see. Use language. So I'll add that as part of the example prompt as well. Which and then the description. So let me actually just call this input. This should also work. Text description. I believe we should be able to drop the text here as well, but for now let me just go ahead with this. Here, use language is actually going to be the language ID that's passed down. The text description will be the description that's passed down. Code output. Okay, this should be enough. Let me now remove this. I'm just going to build and test this extension. building over here. Not sure why I don't get a terminal output. I should have that. I'm running the extension in the development host. Okay, so I think set Python as the default language, and now my extension is active. Let's try generating code. Function to take a CSV file path as a param and return a pandas data frame with the CSV data. And hopefully it doesn't generate any additional text. Yes, as you can see, we have only the code, the output. I'm gonna run a couple more tests, and if it works fine, I guess just push this. Need examples of return function to make a HTTP call and return the response. Returns null if any errors while making the request. Okay. Let's request try. Okay, great. So that generated just the code as well. Finally, let's maybe try something in TypeScript. Calculate date given the reference date and diff days. Okay, it understands what I'm asking for. Does different days times 24. Okay, so it's converting that to milliseconds. Number in milliseconds. Okay, so this works fine. This is good progress, I would say. I'm just going to push the just going to drop the dated generate prompt. The change, I believe, is text in the prompt. That looks good. I'm going to go ahead and push this. Date prompt to use one shot example. Stage this, which also publishes the branch. And let me actually check the description on the issue that I created. Okay, this is mainly for the code edit prompt, I believe. So the branch that I pushed is not really related to an issue, but I'm fine with that. Okay. This prompt is much better as it ensures that only outputs and not any extra descriptions or text which might not play well in the code editor. Quickly look at this. Is just an updated prompt. Just going to create the PR and budget myself. delete. Now let's move to the main branch and pull the list. I should be able to see the commit history. Yes, I can see that I'm at the, and I can see the updated prompt as well. Okay, great. So one other thing that I would like to pick up was currently if the prompt takes a bit of time to respond, we actually don't handle timeouts, and what ends up happening is we keep waiting for the response from GPT, and it ends up timing out much later. So the error that comes is caught much later, and we show a pop-up, a kind of warning notification, but by that time it's so late that user probably doesn't have context of which command went wrong. So let's quickly see how we do error handling. So currently we don't handle any errors inside of Vortex itself, which to be honest is bad. Let's try to see code. So we only show an error message if generated code is falsy, which means it's null. That can happen. Which cases? Okay, so if there was a non-to-exec response from OpenAI, then we return null. For some reason, if the response is null, then we also return null, which I guess is fine, expected. Now the thing is, we do get the response. What are we doing with it? We aren't handling any parent errors over here. So maybe the error handling needs to be moved into the generate code function itself instead of over here. Which is incidentally another project where we want to move all the logic from inside extension.ts into Vortex, because right now extension.ts seems kind of bloated. Like to move all the core logic inside Vortex, but so that maybe as a first step I can add the timeout. Let's see, we go here, we use OpenAI client where we do create chat completion, which takes in create chat completion request and an Axios request config, which is actually good, because that means I can just pass in Axios request parameters into this. So let's try get. There should be a timeout inside of this body length method. Oh, there's also progress here, but I'm not sure how that works with the AI. There is a timeout over here. Time is in milliseconds, if I'm not wrong. Okay, this doesn't say anything, but I do believe the timeout is in milliseconds. So let's, for the moment, make it maybe 10 seconds, which is also large if you ask me. Back to constant closing scope. Hence, should I extract it to a constant in module scope? Put this in, like this. And maybe we can also make this configurable. So as part of the extension config, if someone wants to tweak this, if some users are okay with waiting for longer, maybe you can allow them to tweak this. So I'll add that update maybe in the constructor to either take the default or use the one from the configuration, which is not the same as this configuration. Maybe it's something we pass it down, because does the OpenAI client need to know about timeout, or should we pass that value in from Vortex? Because it's actually, why not? Because okay, anyway, for now I guess I'll go with this. I've basically just added a timeout over here. Would like it to be configurable, which means I want it to be here. I read from this code config. Let me try actually each one. Oh, actually I don't have the latest version of the extension installed in this editor itself, because I just made the changes. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is package the current code as extension. See, and then install it inside this editor. This will make sure that the latest code is used in this instance of the extension. Okay, to do an install extension, good. This also possibly requires a reload, so I'll go ahead with this my terminal and terminal. So I should ideally get the info message over here that the extension is active. Let's see. Not sure why I didn't get that, but let's see. To code, and it's active now actually. Maybe it activates at the first command. Ooh. It's in TypeScript. Read entry from VS Code extension config. Actually, why not? I'm gonna put it here. Function to return entry from code extension config. If that. Okay, so this does work, but again, I would like to ideally move this out and utilize. Why not use Vortex for this again? Code to arrow function. And, at this point, I guess I'm being lazy, but I'm also trying to test the extension. Let's call this field. This is the extension name, which is static. It should also come from constant somewhere, because name. Actually, this name is a bit verbose, so I'm going to just change this to get config value. Call it config. I'll also make a note that this has to be possibly interface. So inside the constructor, yes, config timeout is going to be what's the name? Just get config value. Config should put this. Okay, did not do the auto import. Let's go ahead and see import it. Is it not exported? Oh, understood. I guess that's why it did not import it. So let's try that again. Oops. Quick fix. Import from utils. This is request. Not sure if this is tenable. This is sync. All right, it is. So okay, so this should return ideally a number. What we do is timeout is set, otherwise use the default. Timeout actually has to be a number, I believe, number or undefined. Okay, that's kind of weird, but okay. Number isn't assignable to type 10,000. That seems to be going to say this is number or undefined. Okay, so we have successfully created initialize timeout from the config, I believe. So what it's going to do is, if config timeout is there, it's going to take it, see the background. I guess it's fine. It's just gonna cast 10,000 back into a number, which is fine. Right now, the config is not set, so not going to use it from there. It's just going to set it to the default timeout of 10 seconds, which I believe is fine. Okay, so let me go ahead and try to run the extension again. And ideally what should happen is we should be able to see this in our config settings. So we are also using a config field somewhere in extension.ts, I believe. Maybe I can move that to use this util function as well. So for that, let me test if everything else is working fine. Okay, this script. See, what do I want to? Let me give it something simple. Function to some odd numbers in an input array. Not sure if this is clean. I think you can update it to use filter. Use filter to do this. Okay. I think this is working fine. Let's quickly check settings to see if find Vortex. So somewhere I believe we also need to mention that this is a config, which is why I'm not able to see the timeout config here right away. So let me go and see maximum number of lines to process. It's possibly in our package JSON or some manifest file. Yes, we also have to update our read things. Okay, configuration, title, Vortex, properties. To add property over here, which is request timeout. Feature default is oh, now that I think about it, it'll be easier for the user to enter this in seconds. Let's keep the default at 10. Maximum number of seconds to wait for GPT to respond. To respond. Okay. Timeout. So what it's going to do is it's going to take the config timeout over here, but since that is in so what I'll do is I'll apply this by 1000. I think they should work. So config timeout comes in seconds, not present for some reason, which it should be because we are also specifying the default, but just in case, I'm gonna take 10 and it's become 10,000. Okay. Yeah, so let me just quickly check if worked. Yes, now you can see we have way to edit the request timeout over here. So let me actually set the request time 2 seconds. Should probably time out most requests. And code. Yeah, so util function that uses use to calculate sum of odd numbers that end with 3 or 5, I guess. Hopefully this takes more than 2 seconds. Okay, timeout exceeded, so errored out, which means the configuration is working fine. I'm just gonna set this by 10, and yeah, that looks good. So I think I can go ahead and push this. But before I do that, I would like to also update the read. Let me actually open the markdown preview. This. This comes. We can actually specify all of these things, I believe. Okay, why not just include all of the fields here, because useful. Or they can find that out when they are setting it in the so take the function that I entered here. Number of seconds to is 1084. And I'll also include the default value for max lines to process. I believe it is 20. Okay, that looks good. Let me stop this for now. Push the code. The changes. So registered a new config, added a util function to fetch the config value, which reminds me that I'll have to refactor the all the other places which read from config to use the same function. Ideally, I moved inside a class of its own. Fine. Then client uses the config value as the Axios request timeout. Okay, this looks good. Wait, request timeout. Actually, it's set request timeout. Use value from config if. Maybe I can check out when at stage. Push. This closes the course. Sanity check. Okay, I think everything is good. Not sure. Okay, I'm still streaming. Just do a git pull and get this code. Okay, so let's actually search for git configuration, code base, and see that somewhere over here. Vortex. I'm loading the entire Vortex config over here, and then leave them in the places. So, should I do this or just to process? Because I don't think the ideally extension.ts isn't aware of this unless it requires config from here. The thing is, the max lines to process should ideally be side of Vortex. Go here, node. But right now, I'm just gonna make this quick. Edit it to pick it up from config. And maybe I'll also move the code inside Vortex. Been a while. Been pending for a while. So I believe all of this should go inside Vortex. Display output. Okay, so review code is a good function to have, but displaying the output, displaying error messages. Just thinking, I think that needs to be a little more thought into exactly how we structure this. What exactly needs to go inside Vortex and what needs to stay in extension.ts. I guess I'll do some research on that and get back on this. Apart from that, I'll pick up some other issue that's okay, this is to put the errors in some sort of output channel. Let me see if there's something else I need to add a processing indicator. Yes, so this is also something that's pending. So I believe with the recent updated timeout it should be much better, but still it would be good to at least indicate that something is processing and it's not just the command did not register or something. So let's go ahead and do that. Do that next. Vortex. So I guess any new code that I'm adding, I'm just going to put it inside Vortex so that the migration will be cleaner. So even all of this actually just take parameters that construct a prompt, and then it's just get response of prompt. Wanted to set up a prompt builder of sorts, but again I'm deprioritizing that. So let me stay on task. What I'm going to do is add a progress indicator whenever we make the request over here. So let's see how that can be done. Again, I'm just going to generate and let's try to generate some TypeScript function to use VS Code API to show up progress indicator. Maybe this is enough. Let's see what it comes up with. These to the top and I'll just edit convert to arrow function. And also this just says your code here. Is there a way to wrap existing code here, or I'm going to have to repeat this all of the places? Anyway, I'm gonna get to that later. So convert this to an arrow function is something that still straightforward. What I need here is a show progress update to show sample progress, and also close the indicator. Oh, I think it updated this to an arrow function. All right, that is still a smaller question to fix. This. Sync arrow here. That so basically. Okay, this shows the progress as a notification with an optional cancel button. Okay, which is good enough for now. And maybe this takes in the title as a parameter, so that we can customize it for all the 3 commands that we have. And this is to go to progress update, which is not there. The progress.done is called when I get a response. Maybe I don't do any update to generic indicator without exact number progress. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but let's try it. So after 5 seconds you can say almost done. Okay, this actually looks much better because let's make this 3 seconds. After 5 seconds it's going to update the message to almost done, and then 10 seconds it's going to say finishing up, and it's going to say progress.done, which is actually good because that is our default timeout. And possibly use the timeout from the config over here. That said, this progress is something that I would like to change once I get the response from a client. See how I can go ahead with doing that. So progress is shown while running the given callback. While the promise returned isn't resolved or rejected. So maybe inside of this, what I do is I do responses await OpenAI client dot get response, and once that's done, or can it also take in a function as a parameter and run that function? Let's see if that can be done. Take an async function to run as a parameter, and set progress to done when that function resolves or rejects. This actually, I call it a method, not sure, I haven't done this before. Brush up on my pass in a function as a parameter to function. Function as a parameter. Okay. Function type is made up of the types of arguments the function accepts. Okay. Okay, all fine. So the parent function returns something fine. So can I not use it for these functions? Because I think I had a power cut. I'm not sure if streaming. Okay, I think I'm capturing my okay, looks like I'm actually sharing my primary screen from a laptop, which did not die, thankfully. So good. So anyway, not sure if I can use this in the current state because all my function signatures are different. Okay, let's return a promise string or null, but maybe I taken any arguments and do it. Let's check what the official documentation is in type. Problem is the current call signature that I have is different for all the functions. This would be actually an easy way to go. So what if I want to maybe optional parameters explain this. This says Arg. Very helpful. Mm-hmm. Arg. Can the args be, or is it going to take? Yeah, I should destructure the arguments. Thanks. Okay, actually can't make that work, but this is now weird because progress takes in progress.report. With progress, yes, we're actually looking at. So actually clicked on this. Okay. Run command with progress. Oh, what does this do? It just runs the command and shows. That's all I need to do with progress. We just do that then. The problem is if I pass this in, still doesn't return the uh, return the missing functions solve value. So basically, I need with progress command and return value. Execute process. This seems to be a pretty exhaustive response. I mean, in terms of completion. Let's see how to read from the child process output. So the thing is, we actually don't need the exact progress update. Running cancellation requested, we just cancel it, I guess. And the window of progress. Okay, it just seems overkill to be using a child process to do this. Should be fairly straightforward. This is right inside of a disposable. What does this actually do? This just let's see what this guy does. This returns new promise. Okay. So all of these questions, I believe, are actually with respect to actually showing the progress, not about fetching the output from the solve function. This does new pro. Something fundamentally wrong in my understanding. This is tab 9's examples. Let me see if I can search for code examples using progress. With progress. This code. I'm going to refer to a couple of examples to see how we achieve this. Okay, so, sorry. Just new task. Maybe I should just instead of taking in function, for now keep it simple, and just do this because this is going to be the same function that I'm going to execute every time. Okay. Let me actually try that in my generate code function, I guess. And this is not going to be there inside of. Okay, I think we have the updated built extension on this. Yeah, script code. Okay, function to calculate average of list of this. Okay, works great. So that means that I can just make this the async function and this is. So let me say run with progress indicator async function, and this becomes the async function. Now all I need to do is turn this dot indicator, this dot client dot get response of the prompt. So I guess I need to wrap this around a promise. This returns or is that the fix required? Really, what am I doing? I think this is what we need. Type string. Okay, this already returns a string, does it? Wait. Right, so oops. I think this should be enough. So I actually think that doing an await should be and not assignable to type string. Let's return the function. Not sure why. Per message. Turn await. Actually, to do something. I'm going to just keep it simple. It's okay with the copy paste, but I want to write some erroneous code. Let me remove this for now, and all of these actually do the same thing. Just say, let's call it processing, maybe something else. Now that we have this, I think we don't need the info message that we print here. I think I'm doing this in a bunch of places. Yeah. That. And reload the window in my development host. Generate. It should be active now. Okay. Function to filter and return even numbers. And it's done. Great. I think that looks great. And it's actually literally the same code in all the other functions, so it should be fine. Let me do a last. This, I'm gonna move it to the top, or disability. Just run with progress indicator. Actually takes in the prompt. I would to take just call it function. And over here, this shouldn't be a string actually. This needs to be a function that returns string. This dot opening a client dot get response turns excuse me. This becomes let me try doing the thing over here. So what is this actually returning? So it says that it's We're returning a function. Is it because added an go here? So we pass in the function. This waits, it shows thing, and then turns. We are also awaiting. Can this turn time? Says that it turns. We are awaiting it. Let me see. Oh, this is again this is what I don't get, because with progress says that actually it returns a tenable. I'm again awaiting. Okay, I think this is getting slightly complex now, so I'm just going to revert to using the method. All of this. Let's revert all of this and just get back to this is processing. Good enough. Final test. Function to check if a string is an anagram. Anagram of what? So I managed to get that. Okay. So I know that this works. To push this, me actually in my terminal. Just real quick. Move the Windows, because now we are already progress. Okay. This is straightforward. Show indicator. Show a process indicate during the call. Remove. I can potentially add this in another commit message, but I think fine. Done that. Message. I think maybe it's time to pump up the release version. Significant number of updates have been made. This is like that the changes are atomic and we are doing small changes at a time. 24 editions, and that's pretty good. this is same as earlier. I'm just going to merge this. I know that for the time being I can actually just push directly to the main branch, but I'd rather do it this way so that I can cleanly revert any PRs. So let me actually go to my releases and see if it makes sense to do a release. We are at 0.1.1. Don't get it. Oh, why didn't I prefix this with a V? So let's do a V 0.1.2. Call it alpha. All this is great. Set table does not pretty looks good. Oh, we added a bunch of functionality. Actually, I could have bumped this up to even 1.0.0 because now you can set the API key properly. And I'm using a secret store. This was what is blocking me from actually publishing it to the marketplace, but maybe now do the publish. This is not required, and as you check out to the main branch and pull the latest code. So let's create issue, refactor, and create a config interface. Extension config fetching is scattered different places. Refactor this to bring all fetches to common interface. So solution is pretty straightforward. So I'm gonna label this announcement issue. Let's see if that's something that's stopping me from actually pushing to the marketplace. What are the features? Explain. You can have an explain code. Which should be actually straightforward to add. Just a small change over the review code functionality. Just need to edit the prompt to make it explain the code. So let me actually move this refactor code. It need not be part of this. Check it out. You can add this feature. This should be easy to implement. And After that, I'd like to possibly push the extension, but yes, as I mentioned, let me check if there are any blockers to that. So this is actually fixed by which one? Created the previous one. But this is fine, which means the only kind of bug that remains is, yeah, so when we do edits, so create doc string is fetch, use the editor API to set it in the code. Yeah, either this or I can move the doc string generation out into a separate command and make it function differently. But all right, this is still a pre-release version. I can release it in the marketplace as a pre-release. Meanwhile, this is good enough. Let me actually figure out how to like to do an initial push and ideally accompany it with some kind of tweet on Twitter to have some social presence so that people know that there's something I'm working on. Okay, so image URLs, images, I think I don't have any of these. Should not be SVGs. And if there are image URLs, there should be UX guidelines, walkthroughs, settings. Okay. Okay. Create organization in Azure Devops. So right, do a bunch of things. Sign in to Azure Devops. Okay. Maybe I'll do this. I can just sign in with GitHub. Yes, let's stay signed in. Okay. That's such a big gap. Okay. What do I call my DevOps organization? South India, I think. Okay. The process. Hope this doesn't display any credentials or connecting stuff. Okay, I've been streaming for around 1.5 hours now. Hopefully I can end the stream after I publish this. Okay, project name. From the home page, open the user setting. select tokens. Okay, you actually go right there. Maybe I don't need to create a project, I'm not sure. Create a new token. So this is for publish token. Now an expiry. Make it 90 days for now. Custom defined scope. Then we just need marketplace. Okay, don't have anything that says marketplace. Read, publish, update, and manage. Need to select just manage. Okay, manage marketplace. Create. Okay. Should ideally mask that token. Hopefully I'm able to edit that out. So let's have it copied. Okay. Create a publisher. We can create publisher management unique. Okay, let me go there. Okay, I need to have a domain because I only have a block domain. None of this is actually required. Let's go ahead and okay, great. So test it using VSC. Let's do VSC. What the VSC login and then the publisher. Okay. Oh, succeeded. Great. Means I can just do VSC publish. We haven't already provided it. Okay, so I could have directly done the publish as well. Alternatively, you can package it and manually upload it to the management page. All right, so go ahead and do be enough. Okay. Okay, it's packaging it. Okay, first field. Oh, is missing publisher name. Okay. Oh, can do so it does have a publisher name. Oh, I need to set this in the package JSON. Is it? Great. Let's go to the package JSON. This, yes, it comes in publisher. Doesn't have a repository, but I think that is fine. Actually, let's see why I need the repository extension. Maybe it's good to have. If you add it and it's a public GitHub, automatic detect not just relative links using the master branch, you can override it with. Okay. But it says it's going to use the master branch, but I am using the main branch as my default. Okay. Okay, so let me not do this for now. I'll figure it out. Let's go ahead and publish this. Just gonna actually publish it. Okay. Go for this one. Ah, yeah, it might take a few minutes. Yeah, expected. So I'll try after a few minutes, but I think I've published it. Things reload. Yeah, currently verifying. Okay, so while that's happening, let me go ahead and I'll possibly revoke the access token that I had in this, because I think I accidentally displayed it on the stream. Yeah, I'm just gonna give it a few minutes, and once verified that it's available, I think I can end the stream for today. It's been going for around 35 minutes now. There are a couple of other options as well, apparently. This is interesting. So if you want to become a verified publisher, could have added this as well. You can opt in to display pricing label by adding the pricing field. It'll be free for now, and then set up a sponsor. Apparently, not looking for that right now. Compatibility, all of these are good to have. So all of these I'll possibly sit and finish someday when I'm doing a hygiene check on the entire repo. Auto incrementing. So I can do this VSC publish. I can type some questioning. If it is run in a Git repo, it will also create a version commit and tag via npm version. That is good. That's exactly what I wanted actually. Update the package JSON version. Maybe that's why here it says 0.0.1, but on my Git repo it's going to say 0.1.2, I believe. My extension is currently published. Oh, I should have also updated my changelog.md. Something I will possibly start following from the next stream. Oh, to be up. Yes. This says hub, but doesn't apparently include to the marketplace. Okay, just go there from here, I guess. Okay, great. So I do have the extension up on the marketplace. That's a win. I guess I can have an icon and possibly a GIF here as well, which quickly showcases the extension. Just add the corresponding issue for that on GitHub and close the stream, I guess. So first, the used extension is currently will add. Oh, I should also possibly update the README with link to the extension. Okay, I'll figure out how to do all this. There's a bunch of things that I need to do. So for now, I'm just going to say update README with rich content. The README the marketplace could be enhanced with more informative content and images / GIFs. So research all possible config options in readme package.json and anything else that could be added to metadata that could help. Label this as an enhancement. Actually, it's a documentation sheet. Okay, great. So this is good progress. I managed to close a bunch of issues and also publish the extension to the marketplace. I will possibly be also linking to this in my blog and tweet, maybe on Twitter and other social media if possible. But until then, I'll be closing the stream for now, and until next time.